Alright, welcome in. Today I want to take you with me into something that represents a major shift inside Cardano, something called Rocket Cats. This is more than a collection. It is a doorway away for a community that already exists to step into an actual digital world. The most exclusive community on Cardano Boss Cat Rocket Club is now expanding into a metaverse experience, and I want to show you why that matters. Right now, as I speak, imagine this: there are 9,999 boss cats, and alongside them 1,111 rocket counterparts scattered across wallets, representing people who have been here long before any gameplay, any visuals, or any virtual world even existed. Suddenly, all of these are getting exclusive early access, not to a simple website or a static gallery, but to a space center, the first real entry point into Boss Planet, which is the metaverse space being built for this community. For a long time, NFTs on any chain were questioned. People asked, what is the purpose? Why own a picture? What value does it bring? Here the answer becomes clearer. Those assets, those cats, now function as identity, as access, as a key into a world where I can walk around, interact, and actually be represented by something I own. I want you to picture it, me stepping inside the environment, and instead of a generic avatar, I appear as a Vox cat, designed specifically at a one-of-one level. That means my cat is not just a file, it becomes me inside a metaverse. The texture, the shape, the movement, every detail is created by a dedicated art team, so that entering that world feels like an extension of the NFT itself. And this is not only about visuals, it is about culture. If you know Boss Cat Rocket Club, then you know it is social, it is active, it has energy. From weekly Smash Cards community gameplay to shared Discord spaces, it is a place where people actually gather. Now take that and imagine it transported into a persistent world, a world that never switches off. So throughout this journey, what I want to do is help you see moment by moment how Rocket Cats is not just another asset, but one piece of an entire system that is forming. And I hope that as you watch this, you start to feel what ownership, community, and digital experience can look like when they blend together. When I think about Rocket Cats, the first thing that stands out is intention. There is a clear purpose, a direction, a long-term idea for where all of this is going. This is not a random NFT drop. It is a system built to connect ownership, community, and a future that exists inside a digital world. The main goal is simple to say, but big to execute. Take a community that is already exclusive, already established, and give them a world to actually live in. That world is Boss Planet, and the first destination inside it is the Space Center. It is designed to feel like a location, a hub, a doorway where people who have these assets can gather before anyone else. Who is this truly for? It is for holders, for the people who have one of the 9,999 Boss Cats or one of the 1,111 rockets. It is for individuals who care about status, rarity, and the feeling that their digital identity means something. It is also for people who want more from NFTs, who want to actually be present, walk in a space, show up, and not just observe from a wallet. There is also a bigger vision, and I feel it when I think about how this could evolve. If access begins with the Space Center, what comes next? New locations, new experiences, maybe gameplay layers, social events, areas where holders gather in real time. The vision points toward a digital world that keeps expanding, where the NFT I own today becomes the reason I can participate tomorrow. It also sets a cultural message. It says the value of a digital asset is not only in its rarity, but in what it unlocks, what it lets me do, who it lets me connect with. It places community at the center because Rocket Cats is not trying to be a project where users stay silent. It is built on people showing up week after week, proving that digital identity grows when participation happens. I imagine this long-term NFTs evolving into avatars living in a shared environment, and that world having rules, culture, rituals. The goal is to move from a collection you own to a world you enter, a space where you can immerse, where your profile is not an icon but a character. So for me, the vision of Rocket Cats is not just metaverse access, it is the beginning of a digital life where ownership is the passport and community is the force that makes the world alive. As I move deeper into Rocket Cats, what really makes this ecosystem stand apart are the elements that shape how holders actually experience it. And I want to walk you through them piece by piece. The foundation begins with the core collections. There are 9,999 Boss Cats, and alongside them 1,111 Rocket NFTs. These are not random numbers. They are a defined supply that creates scarcity, and that scarcity is part of what drives the culture. If you have one, you are already positioned differently because it means you are part of a group that holds a key to something others cannot enter. What takes this further is VoxCats, and this is where experience transforms into identity. Every single Boss Cat Rocket Club holder can enter Boss Planet using a one-of-one VoxCat. These avatars are individually crafted, which means when I step inside the metaverse, I am not generic. I am represented by something custom created by an art team with a clear vision. It allows me to look around, walk, interact, and feel present, not as text or a profile photo, but as a living figure in a world. Then there is the BCRC rocket itself, and this one is described as the most scarce and sought-after collection in Cardano history. The rocket is made up of 3 different types of parts: solid rocket boosters, external fuel tank, and orbiter. The assembly aspect introduces a structural layer of collecting where pieces work together, giving the item a physical logic, even though it is digital. Community is also a feature because Rocket Cats is not only about what sits inside a wallet, it is about what holders do. A clear example is weekly Smash Cards sessions. Every Tuesday, the community jumps straight from their Discord into matches battling in 6-minute rounds, where eliminations, timing, movement, and sometimes survival decide the scoreboard. The game itself is fast, chaotic, and full of item pickups and attacks. But more importantly, it is a recurring ritual, a social heartbeat where being part of the club feels alive. When I look at all of this together, it forms a stack: ownership, identity, participation, and presence. You begin with an NFT, that NFT becomes an avatar, that avatar steps into a world, and that world is filled with shared action. So what stands out is not only the asset, but the way it is meant to be lived. As I explore the foundation of Rocket Cats, what grounds the entire experience is the fact that everything begins with Cardano. The digital assets, the access, the economy that will emerge, all of it is built on top of a blockchain that gives verifiable ownership, scarcity, and the ability to carry identity across platforms. The NFTs at the core of this project exist because they are minted on Cardano. That means when I hold a Boss Cat or a rocket, I am not just holding a picture, I have a token written into the chain, recorded, trackable, and permanently connected to my wallet. That token is my proof, my credential, my access ticket, and the reason I can enter Boss Planet. Inside this ecosystem, the VoxCat avatar I use is also tied to the NFT identity, and because it belongs to me on-chain, it becomes a form of representation that cannot be copied. It is one-of-one anchored to a collectible that exists only once in the supply. Cardano ensures that this uniqueness is not theoretical, it is verifiable because the chain protects it. Another important layer is the Boss Planet token, which is planned to become the economic engine of the metaverse. Its purpose is to increase stability, create trading utility, and keep the value of items inside the world from being driven by external token volatility. What that means for me is that if I own assets and if I trade, participate, or interact inside Boss Planet, the value I experience is tied to what happens within that world, not to unrelated markets. There are no additional details provided about smart contracts, staking, metadata, DID identity systems, or CIP standards, so I cannot speak beyond the confirmed layers. The truth is, what is clear right now is this: Cardano is the foundation that gives ownership meaning, and the Boss Planet token is the layer designed to power the internal digital economy. So when I step back, what I feel is this: Rocket Cats is only possible because Cardano gives structure, a chain to anchor assets, and a way for a metaverse to be built on verified identity. It is not just technology underneath, it is the core reason this world can exist. When I look at Rocket Cats, I see more than collectibles. I see a shift in how value is created and experienced, and that is where the impact begins to stand out. What this ecosystem offers is the ability for ownership to translate into participation, and that alone sets it apart. For holders, the direct benefit is access, and not just temporary access, but early, exclusive, and identity-based entrance into a digital world. It takes the idea of an NFT and moves it from a static position to a living one, where I can exist, move, and show up inside a metaverse using a VoxCat that reflects my asset, that transforms how collectors relate to what they own. There is also a social layer, and that is something you can feel every Tuesday when the community jumps straight into Smash Cards. When I am inside those matches, I understand the purpose. The game becomes less about winning and more about what happens when a group gathers with momentum, energy, and a shared identity. That rhythm week after week is what keeps a culture alive. For the Cardano ecosystem, Rocket Cats plays another role. It expands what NFTs can be. Instead of a marketplace focused purely on speculation, this becomes a showcase of utility. It shows NFTs as keys, passports, or avatars, and in doing so it helps redefine public perception. It gives the space a living example of digital assets being used inside an active world, not just inside transactions. There is also impact in the way value may eventually stabilize, especially as the Boss Planet token becomes functional because it is tied to internal activity. It has the potential to strengthen the economy inside the metaverse itself, making assets less exposed to movements that come from outside forces and instead anchored in how the community behaves. But perhaps the biggest value is emotional. It is the feeling of being present, being early, and being part of a world that is still being shaped. When I imagine stepping into that space center before anyone else, I feel like I am witnessing a beginning, and that sense of being at the start is what often creates the strongest connection. So the impact of Rocket Cats at its core is about changing how ownership is lived and giving meaning to digital identity in a way that is felt, not only seen.